We had Holger Rune winning the Barcelona Open, beating home favourite Carlos Alcaraz in the final 7-6, 6-2, ending Alcaraz's kind of mini win streak after he won Monte Carlo the previous week. Rune coming out on top, which is great for Danish tennis. Rune getting his first title in quite a while. So really good for him. He's back into the top 10 now with this win. Joel, I'm going to come to you. It did look like Alcaraz had picked up a little bit of a niggle in this match in the final with his right upper leg. He's going for an MRI to get further assessment on that. But despite that, do you think Rune ultimately, was the better player and sort of deserved to get this title? It wasn't just down to Alcaraz's supposed physical state.
Yeah, I think that first set was a real tussle, and Rune has been playing great tennis recently. I know he had a little bit of a cold in Monte Carlo, but the fact that he got to the Indian Wells final, now won in Barcelona, defeating Alcaraz, I think it just shows that when he is feeling 100% healthy, he's playing some really, really good tennis. And in that final, as much as I think Alcaraz helped him a little bit with some uncharacteristic unforced errors, particularly at the net. His net game was not very good. I thought that Rune, he actually surprised me a little bit with some of the shot making that he had on the court, because it was the Rune we've seen, I feel like, in the past. And although I think he's had a pretty good start to the season, this was just a level he needed to rise to, I think, to kind of contain Alcaraz. And I think he was jamming up Alcaraz on his backhand side as well. I think that helped, not getting into too many rallies with his forehand, and I think that certainly served him well. And particularly, I think managing those big points towards the end of the set, because he did have a few set points, and I did think, was he going to get nervous and sort of let the opportunity slip? But to get it done in that tiebreak was very, very impressive.
Yeah, and he came through earlier in the week against Casper Ruud, who won this title previously last year. Also wins over Hachinov and Sebastian Baez, who the latter of whom is a solid, decent clay courter. So, yeah, some great wins across the week. Definitely the worthy winner come the final. And I have to say, when you see them holding their trophies, it is kind of little and large, isn't it? Because you get this ginormous
What is
trophy
going
for
on there?
winning, and a tiny dinky one for the runner-up.
Did you
So
see Carlos looking at it? He was like, "What do I do with this?" Or just kind of just checking, like, "Do I hold this up?" It's like he wouldn't really be able to do it because it's so small. But it
It's
looks
like
like
a
it belongs.
participation
Yeah,
medal,
it looks like it belongs on top of Holger's trophy. They
Yes.
just took a bit off
yeah,
and gave it to
It's like a
him.
layered cake. It's like the top bit, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the best trophies, I think, isn't it? The Barcelona
it's a
one,
proper
and
trophy.
it's proper solid trophy. Rune hasn't won a title since Munich 2 years ago. So yeah, it's been 2 whole years.
Long time since
So
he's held a trophy.
it's a good one to finally pick up after all that time, isn't it? And he Alcaraz, as a result of losing the final and Zverev winning in Munich, which we'll get onto very shortly, he drops back down to 3 in the world. So him and Zverev are sort of doing this dance at the top of the rankings between the two of them. So be interesting coming into Roland Garros, who's going to get that sort of number
There's,
two
there's been
seeded spot.
there's been so many different male winners on the ATP tour over the last several weeks or so. I feel like Rune making a statement here. We had obviously Draper. Yeah, as you said, we were going to come on to Zverev finding form. It just feel like, again, underneath Sinner, there's just this melting pot of loads and loads of contenders, and it's nice, I think, to see Rune get a trophy, because he is playing good tennis, and I think he'll be happy that he's got something to show for it.
Absolutely. It's very different to the days where it's either, Rafa or
Mm.
Djokovic, picking up all the titles and the run up to the French Open. It feels like people have a chance now. So
I
it's
think it just
definitely more open.
shows. I think it just shows how hard it is to play all of these
Mm.
tournaments, and we can't just expect, like, oh, because Nadal did it and won all of them, that Alcaraz, is almost like unfairly kind of put in comparison, and is sort of expected to do the same, because he has played a lot of tennis recently. He might not necessarily have gone deep in Miami, but to go from Monte Carlo to Barcelona, and interestingly, I was reading about Barcelona, the draw has also not been helpful in the sense that I think before the top seeds got a bye, so they didn't have to play until like the Tuesday or the Wednesday, but there's no bye now for the top players. So the turnaround is even more brutal. And maybe that also ultimately had an impact on Alcaraz. And I just wonder if, we will see him in Madrid, because there is a little bit of doubt there. It's not always the most favorited Masters to play in the build up to the French Open, because it's not as similar in terms of conditions like Rome. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes from here.
Yeah, well, let's see, and we'll just a note as well. There was some British success in the doubles. We had 3 of 4 players in the final being British, with Luke Johnson and his Dutch partner Sander Arons winning against Joe Salisbury and Neil Skupski in the men's doubles final. So I think Johnson becoming the first Brit to win the doubles title at Barcelona.
7 Brits now in the top 50 rankings, which apparently is the most. Alongside the USA. I have to give a credit to my friend Tom for telling me that, but yes, that snuck up on me in terms of the strength and depth of men's doubles in British tennis.
Yeah, it's fantastic, especially for Davis Cup. It's having that depth, but who do you then select? Who do you
6
go with?
6 doubles players.
Yeah, if only we had
select
just 2
all of them.
doubles ties and
Yeah.
one doubles tie, that would help.
Petition for Davis Cup to be an all doubles affair. No singles,
Davis
just
doubles.
doubles.
Davis Cups, it would have to be, plural.
Davis Doubles Cup.
Maybe the Croydon Open could just be a doubles event.
Yeah, lower stakes.
Yeah. We're talking about the number 2 ranking changing over. As we said, as Alex Zverev winning in Munich, he now is back up to number 2 in the world as a result of that. It was actually his birthday as well when he won the title on Sunday, beating Ben Shelton in the final 6-2, 6-4. This is his 3rd title at this event. 24th title overall. And I think Zverev was in need of a title, really, quite frankly. He's had a pretty terrible run of form since reaching that AO final earlier in the year. But he kind of seemed much more back to his old self, bit refreshed in the home event that he was at. And he'll be pleased to have picked this one up. Joel, how impressive was Zverev in this event? Like, how important do you think this will be kind of going into Madrid and on to the French Open?
Yeah, I mean, Madrid is an event he usually plays well at, the altitude, his serve. It feels like they go hand in hand. So this will be very pleasing, I think, for him, particularly given the run he has been on, or the non-run he has been on at the Monte Carlo, Indian Wells, Miami, just not been very good. So to drop down to a 500 where the level is a little bit lower, I think to get those matches in, I think is really, really good. And I was particularly impressed in his quarterfinal against Griekspoor, because that was Griekspoor's been playing well this season. That was a over 3-hour tussle. Zverev, there's always kind of mental questions there on whether he can sort of doesn't sort of just give in, and he stuck with Griekspoor to the very end there, and he needed to. And I was very impressed with that result, particularly because there were other things going on as well.
I mean, to say though, impressed with the result. I mean, it is Talon Griekspoor, and this is the world number 2, Joel. And he did.
I think honestly, that is how bad we have seen Zverev been playing recently.
Yeah,
he's clutching at straws. A win is a win.
A win is a win, Kim. That's true.
That bad.
Yes.
He also, in his match against Griekspoor, had to contend with further comments from the crowd. We've seen this at other places, but about the domestic abuse allegations against him. Interestingly, this time at home, with his home fans, but obviously they're not necessarily all in support of him. So he, had to sort of contend with that as well. It's obviously still ongoing as he plays around the tour. Obviously that didn't stop him getting the win and going on to win the tournament. So we'll have to see, if this is the start of kind of a bit of a revival in his fortunes, especially Joel, as you said, he's won Madrid before. He likes the altitude. It suits big servers. So let's see if his form can continue.
One thing I'd just love to say, Dedura Palomero.
Yes, I was hoping you'd mention this.
Defeated Denis Shapovalov by way of retirement from Shapovalov in the first round. German, lucky loser. Did you guys see the celebration that he did? And what are your thoughts on it? Because I feel like it's quite divided, the tennis community, in terms of whether it was appropriate or whether he just sort of went to OTT.
I mean, it was completely inappropriate, surely. in terms of someone retiring. I think there's having excitement for a result, getting your first ATP win, it is a milestone, but you haven't actually won that match.
No.
You played very well. Your opponent has retired. So I think it was completely misplaced. It was quite strange, but I mean,
no mitigating circumstances then. The fact that it was his first win. I mean, he is.
It wasn't
very
a win
young...
though. That's the point that I'm making. Is that if your opponent doesn't complete the match, it is a win by default, as opposed to you have got that last point. We don't see people celebrate like that when they're more senior on the tour. That would be really quite a bad look. So I think because he's young, we can give him a free pass. Everyone gets a chance. But I mean, you've got to really want it. And so it's good to see he was that passionate. But if I was Denis Shapovalov, I'd be like, what is going on? Because that was, I mean, it was almost like he won a Grand Slam.
It was quite funny. I feel like he did get his comeuppance in his next match against Eugene Bergs, because he let off a sort of similar celebration, like at the very beginning almost, winning, I think, one of his service games. And then he lost 6-1, 6-1.
Maybe he just needs to practice and hone his, celebration for that one day he might actually win a
like
title.
You practice an Oscars winner speech. He practiced winning French.
I'm almost scared what it's going to be when he gets that full, like,
backflips.
He's going to implode, isn't he? Yeah.
Fireworks. Yeah.
Red carpet ceremony.
I hope that one day we see him lifting a title just for the celebration.